This is our job interview workshop. It's not actual job interviews. If you're here expecting a job, then this is the wrong room. What we're going to do tonight is offer some tips and ideas and thoughts on how you can improve your job interview skills. A lot of you, I assume, are in college in order to get jobs, and so your job interview is going to be the next big step. To do that, rather than just spouting ideas, we actually have a panel of people who do interviews out in the real world. And we're going to have a few mock interviews, and this panel is going to say what they saw, all right? If I was hiring this person, now if I was potentially hiring this person, this is what I would like, and this is maybe what they can work on. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to mix that in with some lessons and teaching about what you should look for when you're preparing for your job interview. So let me start by introducing our panel very quickly. Our first, since March of 2005, David Chuddick has owned Chuddick Financial Services and Insurance Group, where he is passionate about providing a client experience like no other. He's a certified financial planner and helps clients make better financial decisions to bridge the gaps to where they want to be. So, David Chuddick. Kathy Cowan is a small business owner in Seneca, established in 1972, and they've been family owned and operated for 47 years. Prior to owning a small business, she was an administrative assistant for the engineering department in a manufacturing industry. Kathy Cowan. Alan Mitchell is a seasoned professional in the fields of architecture, construction, and facilities management. Currently works at Prisma Health, which is formerly the Greenville Health Systems. He's a purchasing agent in the facilities department. He has a degree in architecture and extensive experience in purchasing, urban planning, finance, construction, and facility management. A man of many talents, Alan Mitchell. John Papps also works at Prisma. He's a director of construction and technology at Prisma, where he worked for the past 10 years. He also manages all contracting, the intern program, that might be interesting for you guys, and mentorship for disadvantaged businesses. His signature products at JHS are the USC School of Medicine, Clemson School of Nursing, and their two-story connector. He's currently working on a new behavioral health facility to replace Marshall Pickens. John Papps. Gary Taylor grew up in Asheville, North Carolina, worked full-time in the automotive industry in the parts service and sales while finishing bachelor's degree in 4 years at UNC Asheville in 1981. He remained in the automotive industry until starting a business from scratch in the property and casualty insurance industry in 1985, where he is currently managing 12 employees and 4 offices. He mentions the most fun he's had is telling people in the IT department that he had to deal with, that I deal with, because he wrote the programs that they are currently dealing with using punch cards while in college. So he's got a little bit of history to him. So, Gary Taylor. So that's our panel. We'll introduce some of the presenters as we go along. Right now, I want to introduce Hasla Dharmadada to talk about this event. I think I butchered your name as bad as I butchered Gary's interview. Yep.
So I warmly welcome you to this event. This is our flagship event. So we do one event every semester. So before we start, I just want to share 3 things with you. The first thing is that Toastmasters is a special organization. I'm saying that because if you take all these different sets of people in our campus, graduates, undergraduates, the Clemson community, the university faculty, people from different fields, starting from, say, bioengineering and going up to arts or accounting. Not just that. You take different fields coming from, say people who are
politicians or people who are doing business. So this is a place where every one of us can be together and learn together. But do you know what all of us share here? The passion to improve and to improve together. So if you think that you share one of those, come join us. So point number 2 is, it should be right here. So just have a look here. Just think of that professor who was so good in technical stuff, so good in his theory, but who could not really do his presentation, you know, and who probably, because he didn't have his skills on communication, he couldn't really go out there and make a name for himself. Or think of the time that I have being in an interview and not having the words to express what I can really do. And now think of a program which looks at each and every aspect of that, you know, scenario, communication, leadership. So for instance, let me take you right down. So this is the parts that we have in the Toastmasters program right now. So you can see it starts from presentation mastery and goes up to strategic relationships. So we look at all these small components that makes communication effective. And just to take you through, so for instance, how to manage an online meeting. This is something that we all need, right? Sometime or another. And we look at this in very detailed manner. And then, so how to moderate a panel discussion. So the point being that whatever we do in our life, in our profession, even when we move with other people, we need this. So how to be funny? I know some people are born funny, but in Toastmasters, you have an opportunity to train yourself. For me, it's important because I was not born with communication skills. So I need to train myself. So that goes to point number 3, which is that Clemson Toastmasters are here to stay. We have been here for almost a year with the support of the Clemson University, but we are going to get registered here as an organization from next fall, and then we will have a strong presence. Nevertheless, I know that some of you might think that you're going to start maybe not this semester, next semester, maybe not this month, next month, maybe not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after. My advice to you is, if you really want to start, so if it's something for you, if you think this is something for you, do not look towards the semester after. Let the day be the next meeting. So we'll be talking when we'll be meeting, but just make sure that you grab the opportunity, because this is a fantastic opportunity for you to develop yourself and not to get tongue-tied in the next interview or in the next social networking session. It's an opportunity to upgrade yourself. Over to you.
Thank you. All right, so let's get into the meat of the program. I'm going to start telling you about myself and where I was. And I'm kind of a humble guy. I don't like to brag, but I'm kind of smart, okay? I got my bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. I did it with a 3.5 GPA, and I did it in 3 years. Now, granted, that was University of South Carolina, but it was still pretty good. So, I got my master's degree, also in electrical engineering, GPA 3.5, also while I was working full-time. So when I say I'm kind of a smart guy, I'm not bragging. I think, you know, I hold my own. I'm not MacArthur Genius Grant kind of guy, but I do okay. So when I found myself out of work, this was about 10 years ago, I wasn't worried. I'm a smart guy. I can get another job. People need computer guys all the time. And I would have job interviews and job interviews and job interviews. I had the skills, I had the resume, but I wasn't getting the offers after the job interviews. So I started questioning myself, what's going on? What am I doing wrong? So I decided to look at my job interview skills and maybe where I can improve those, because that's obviously where I was breaking down. And I had remembered hearing about Toastmasters 25 years before. So I looked around, and sure enough, I found a Toastmasters club. And here's what I found when I got there. Yes, they help you work on prepared speeches. And maybe that's not going to necessarily be helpful in job interviews situations, but it does let you work on your use of language, your vocal variety, and your body gestures, because you just don't want to be that stiff guy sitting in the job interview. They also teach you about evaluations, which I didn't understand when I first joined. But they're a very important part of Toastmasters. And the evaluations will not only help you get better, when you give a speech, you get an evaluation of that speech. And we're going to have a small sampling of that tonight with these mock interviews. But it also helps the evaluator, because now you're engaging your active listening skills and your critical analysis skills. And that is something employers look for, if you can do that. If you can not only see something that someone can improve, but then not afraid to say it, have the confidence to step forward and say, this is what I think can improve. The most important part, and it's not what I expected as Toastmasters, is what they call table topics. So table topics is someone poses a question and then pick somebody in the other room, not picking you, don't worry, and that person comes up and responds to that question. So it's what we call impromptu speeches. And that is exactly what a job interview is. Someone poses a question to you. Yes, they're looking for your answer, the technical answer, but they're also looking how you answer. Are you confident in the answer? Can you present your ideas well? I know a lot of job interview questions out there floating around the internet. There's no real answer. They're just watching to see how you handle the situation, how you think through the process. So the table topics is the slam dunk way to improve your job interview skills. On a side note, it's also great for meeting girls at parties or guys at parties. So based on all these things, I had only been in Toastmasters 6 months. We only meet twice per month at the time. And within 6 months after that, I had a long-term contract. And 3 months after that, I had a full-time job, which I still have. So to me, Toastmasters' skill has been invaluable. So you might think, wow, he's got his job, he should quit Toastmasters. But it's one of the things that I saw how much it did for me. So a couple things. I see how much more it can do for me. I'm not done just because I have a job. But it also gives me the ability to help other people as they grow in their path. And that in turn helps me grow in my path. So that's telling you about me, my experience with Toastmasters, and how it helped me specifically with a job interview type situation. So what we're going to do now is actually see one of these job interview type situations. And we have 3 brave souls that have decided to do these mock interviews. So our first one is Lucas Tatum. Lucas, come on up. Everybody give him a hand. Hey, Lucas. So Alan Mitchell is going to be doing his mock interview. And then when we're done, we're going to get a quick evaluation from each one of these panels So everybody listen, watch what you think Lucas does well and what he doesn't do well, and then listen to the panel and see how that compares. So, Alan, take it away.
Lucas.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Now, we've talked a little bit already, and I've read your resume. I know a little something about you. I know you dabbled in music a little bit. Did you ever do any music competition and have to do sight reading?
I did. It's been a while. The only time really was just once in 8th grade. So.
Okay, that's fine. I just want you to know that what we're going to do today is like that sight reading.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you some questions, and I want you to answer as best you can.
Sounds good.
So, Lucas, what are your aspirations and your goals for the future?
So I am currently a Master of Engineering student, graduating in May, and I plan on pursuing a job in the industry. I am most, interested in going into like a regulatory affairs kind of specialist area. I'm a pretty detail-oriented person, so it kind of grabbed me immediately. And I would like to end up in either the Boston area or around DC, Maryland area.
Okay, good. Are you good at handling stress?
Yes. So I believe this past semester, I guess, like the best example of it would be we have a medical device commercialization class, and basically the overall gist of it is to take the technology, bring it to market, and you learn a lot of the kind of business sides, making like stakeholder analysis kind of stuff, business models, balance sheets, all stuff that I had never done in my 4 years of undergrad with technical engineering. So it's a completely new topic for me. At the end of the class, we actually have a competition where they bring in 20 people from industry, clinicians, just other kind of key opinion leaders, and we just pitch our pitch to them, and then they rank us, and I actually got second in it. So I think that's
Very good.
For information that I'm not really that confident with. I think it showed kind of that I could kind of hold my own under the pressure.
Okay. Let's go back to your school life. Can you tell me a difficult or a stressful situation, describe one, and tell me how you handle that?
Yeah, so this past year for our senior capstone project, it's a year-long project, and we're on a team of 4. And so, of course, we have a lot of kind of creative freedom with developing like a medical device. So just kind of establishing like a team dynamic and kind of taking in other people's opinions and ideas, not shutting them out, was a good learning curve. But then also, we had one team member who wasn't really the most enthusiastic about our topic, and that kind of showed in their work. So we would have meetings with them, kind of set like a deadline a week before it was actually due to kind of just go over, oh, did you need any help with this? Look at the quality, that kind of stuff. By the end of the first semester, nothing had gotten better, so we set up a meeting with our teacher, kind of worked it out. So she was put on a project that was more kind of in line with her interests, and it kind of worked out for both parties in the end. But obviously, as you can imagine, we're still in the same class. So it was a little bit of an awkward situation, but I think it was handled pretty professionally.
Okay, you said it was handled professionally. Are you happy with the outcome?
I am happy with the outcome because prior to her leaving, it would be one of those kind of things where to turn in a product, a deliverable at the deadline, at the quality that we all kind of agreed upon, we would have to go back and at the last second redo a lot of stuff for tasks that were kind of delegated out to her. So I am happy that we didn't have to kind of go through that anymore.
Okay. I think that you could probably handle the job, but in your own words, and very convincingly, tell me why I should hire you.
So I think I would be a pretty exemplary employee for a few reasons, I guess. The first one is I'm pretty good at multitasking and taking different inputs and whatnot that might have the same deadline, different deadline, and just kind of prioritizing my work so that I'm able to meet deadlines while also doing a thorough job and ensuring I have a quality kind of product at the end. And then another one that I think is also pretty important is just my passion for learning. I just kind of like learning the science behind things just on my own time, which I think is important because of bioengineering. The field is growing so quickly. It's always rapidly evolving with even just regulatory stuff and then devices, all that, pharmaceuticals. So to keep up with the pace and kind of maybe see where it's going and try to be there when it gets there kind of deal, I think just kind of always being open to learning new stuff and just what's going on around you is pretty important. I think I do a pretty decent job with that.
Very good. I'd like to ask you one more question. You are an engineer.
Correct.
Many times, people in the real world look at engineers and say, oh, that's a behind-the-scenes person. How do you bring what's behind the scene to the forefront and be able to convince a client that you're the person for the job and your product is what they need?
So I guess back to our senior capstone project from last year is probably the best example of this. So obviously we have the whole technical things, but then to kind of develop a product that's useful or needed by the market, we had to do a lot of contact with clinicians, both at Prisma or GHS and down at MUSC, as well as just kind of other key opinion leaders in the field. We had to reach out to medical device manufacturers and even a few patients. So really just getting that whole wide array of different people with different backgrounds that obviously you adjust your pitch to them so that they're able to understand it clearly is something that I think that I've been working on as kind of, a stereotypical engineer normally doesn't have all those kind of skills, but then we were able to present it in multiple different design competitions. We presented it in DC and Atlanta in front of larger audiences that are predominantly scientists and clinicians, but then again, other people that aren't. So I think I've got a pretty good amount of confidence speaking to a different, just array of different people.
Very good. Well, listen, I want to thank you for your time today, and we will be in touch with you about the position.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, and especially thank you, Lucas, for being the brave first one. So let's do a quick evaluation from each of our panel, and I'll start, this is like table topics. Let's go with David. Tell us what you saw.
Okay, well, first of all, I know that's the hardest one is to go first. So I think you did a really good job, and you reached your hand out very confidently and warmly and initiated a handshake, which I think we all want to be likable, and you came off as being very likable. A couple things in a technical interview, we're talking about engineering, there are some ums and stuff. So I think sometimes you can replace stuff with items or tasks and other words. Now I think in other types of job interviews where it's not so technical, you can maybe, if you're applying for an insurance job at my office, you can say stuff and it's okay. That's not a problem. So maybe replacing some of those words, and it's really hard to eliminate the ums, but ums to not have would be pretty important. But overall, I think you did really well. I think you came off as being likable, and you came off as being very technically knowledgeable, but also a likable person. And I think that's the best combination of both. So I think you would have a great potential of getting this job.
Let's go right on to Gary.
Yeah, I'm the same as far as being the first guy up, and the nerves can get to you easily when you haven't done something like that before. The thing I would encourage you to, before you go into a real interview, since you kind of know now the sorts of questions you're going to deal with, is think about several more of your past experiences so that you're not referring back to the same project each time that a different question is asked. And here I am umming. probably trying to get used to using fewer words to accomplish what you want to communicate. I know, again, it's difficult first time you've done something like that. Maybe a little bit less talking with your hands, and instead of the ums, maybe take a pause and a breath every now and then instead of trying to fill the space with words.
All right, thank you, Gary. John?
Where's Lucas? There you are. This is for you, so that's why I want to know where you are. Well-dressed. I like the way you presented yourself. Good firm handshake. Make sure for everybody, when you go to an interview, you dress a little bit above what they expect. Never dress down. You always want to be a little bit more. If everybody's in business casual, make sure you got the tie on. You can always start pulling articles off. Don't strip down, but I mean, if you got to be out of a tie, lose the tie. Danny, you're killing me. You're killing me. Because I was going to wear a camouflage tie today, but I couldn't find it. Good firm handshake. You maintained eye contact. You didn't at first, and I started making note of that. And then you got back to maintaining eye contact. Don't stare the person down. Don't make them feel uncomfortable. But keep your eye on them, because we're watching you. We may be taking notes occasionally. When we look up and you're around the room, we know you're not as interested as you need to be. Very hard to have an interview here. Usually you're sitting down, but you commanded the space well. I'll go different, so this will confuse you. I like the way you used your hands, that you moved them about. It was very comfortable for you, and I like that. Voice dropped off a bit. And I do the same thing. Alan, actually, where is Alan? Alan is awesome, because he'll be in the back of any of my speeches, and he'll raise it up, John, you're dropping off. So don't let your voice trail. You had pretty good variety, but you were low enough that you could get away with that. Again, good use of hands. You commanded the space. I don't see the green light, so I'm still good. You answered the questions very well. I did not. Hey, there we go. You're very slow with that. I'll just keep talking all day long. This is one thing I learned. By the way, go UMass, and I'll leave it at that. Used a lot of colloquialisms. There's a good one to get around. And some buzzwords. Now, know your audience and make sure they're comfortable with that. The ums and ahs you got, as we went on, you had more and more of the ums and ahs. Silence is your best friend, all of you. You can hesitate a little bit. We know you're thinking about the question. You jumped into everyone very quickly, which you did well. And I'll stop there because I got the red card.
All right, Kathy.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have a hard time getting green, yellow, and red all the way. But anyway, Lucas, I thought you did a great job. I loved your energy. I thought you were very genuine with everything you did. You came through really positively. Here I go, umming. I used to be in Toastmasters. I need to continue. However, when you were talking, you did go a little fast. If you just kind of slow down, like I need to do, and just breathe. It's not easy to do, but I thought you did an excellent job. As far as encouraging you and what you need to do for your future, what have you, the main thing is, I think, is it seems like you really know what you want, and that's 90% of everything, I would say. Just try to continue to do that, and I don't see a yellow or red or anything, but I really did do think that you've got a bright future ahead of you.
Thank you, Kathy. Alan.
Lucas, let me be the first to say that I think I would hire you. You were, in my opinion, very collected when you came. Firm handshake. You looked at me in the eyes. I threw you off guard with that sight reading question. I know you didn't expect it. I know. But you handled it, and I loved it. The thing about the engineer being in the background and coming out front, that's something that all of you, when you're in the sciences, you probably hear, oh, that's a research person putting behind closed doors. Don't believe it. You can come out and you can do everything that anybody else can do, especially if you practice through your Clemson Toastmasters and other outlets. So, Lucas, congratulations. Bob?
Thank you. So there's probably a couple things here that looked odd to you. One is the green, yellow, red. What is that? Well, one of the things we work on Toastmasters is time management. You need to learn how to get your point across within a succinct amount of time. You ever get those people that you realize they've been talking for 15 minutes and haven't really said anything? You know, professors I'm sure are perfect here, but for example, so you want to make sure that you be able to get across what you want to say in a succinct amount of time. The other thing that we were talking about is ums and ahs. So what is that? It's one of those things that you never notice. You never notice yourself doing, you might not notice other people doing until you start noticing it, and then it's going to drive you crazy. So people doing interview skills sort of are aware of that thing. People have a habit of when they're stop and pause and looking for a word, they just say or like that. And that's one of the things that we work on. We actually have what we call an ah counter in each meeting to say, you know what, you didn't do any ahs, but you had a few ums. And what that does is helps us learn to listen to ourselves. Once we can hear ourselves doing it, then we can correct it. If we can't hear ourselves doing it, then we can't correct it. So that's just something to keep in mind. But for right now, our next presenter is a risk management specialist. She works with business owners and government agencies in Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. Not only does she have to look her best in the field, but she also trains new agents on how to present themselves. To learn how to dress for success, please welcome Dana Swarner.
Thank you, sir.
That's yours.
Ah, indeed. How many of you wake up in the morning and you say, I know exactly what I'm going to wear and I look good? Nobody? Okay, I'm here to help you. It's okay. We're talking about job interviews, but you can take these tips into all of life and just know that if you're dressed appropriately for the occasion, you won't have to feel shy. You won't have to feel awkward. You don't have to say, hey, I look good. You don't have to say that. But you can, inside yourself, you can know that, hey, I look okay. And I'm dressed appropriately, so now I just have to work on communicating with people. So what we're going to do about this job interview, you saw some of this already. You saw the coat and the tie. Gentlemen, I'm talking to you. Here's what I like about this. There's a jewel tone. So you've got the blue, and then you're using an accent color. We call that a jewel tone. Anytime we're looking at these bright colors. For ladies, you can do the same thing. It looks like a bird, but it's very eye-catching. So when you walk into a room, you're automatically getting attention. And people are going to look at you, and they're going to go, ooh, I wonder what this person's going to say, because I already have been captivated by how this person looks. Have you ever seen someone come on stage and they just get your attention before they open their mouth? Nobody, really? Oh, come on. You've all seen, I know, admit it. There are some people that just grab our attention, and we want to have a conversation with that person because, I don't know, we're just curious. So what you're going to see here is dress appropriately. And if you're wondering what is a jewel tone, I have a chart. So when you are, for guys, when you're wearing your black, your gray, your navy blue, you want to wear something that